Alright guys, it is time for part 2 of the Nexsys port injection conversion kit. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys the AN lines that I'm using, what connections I'm using, how I'm connecting it to that new Billet top hat, how I'm connecting it to the ethanol sensor if you guys are using a flex fuel sensor, and then finally how I'm connecting it to the fuel rail. So you guys get an idea, and if some of you have that Z4 car that you're looking to do this to, then it gives you an idea of what to do with yours, and then you can learn from my mistakes as well, because I did make a few errors. And as for now, also with the Z4, it does not have a low pressure fuel pump sensor, so I'm going to show you guys how I retrofitted one into the port injection with the Billet BMS manifold, so you guys will get to see that. That does require some pinning of the DME and some electrical wiring, so I'll get more into that. And I'm gonna start in the back of the car and work my way up to the front. All right, so we're at the bottom of the car here, and as you can see, we have the Z4 Billet top hat from Precision Raceworks. And at that top hat, we have two separate connections for the fuel lines. First, I'm gonna talk about the one on the left, which you can see is an AN6 line with a 90-degree quick connect. And that is your initial fuel delivery line. So that goes behind the drive shaft, routed behind it, and then kind of curves over here. And that one is able to follow the original brackets that retain the OEM fuel line. So you kind of have to force that AN line in there, but it will hold that AN6 line. Now, if we follow that all the way up, we get to a little loop here where we have another 90-degree quick connect fitting to the ethanol sensor. And the ethanol sensor is a barbed fitting there, so it works with the quick connect. And then you can see there is the harness that also goes off the ethanol sensor, and that loops around all the way up to the DME. So I showed you guys in my video of how to wire and connect the ethanol sensor, how to do that. But as for the other AN line here, it's another quick connect fitting, but not a 90-degree. It's just a straight quick connect. And then that also loops all the way up here, and it's routed up here. It loops all the way up. So let's go to the top of the engine. I'll show you guys some more up there. But that's the fuel delivery for the bottom of the engine. All right, so now we're up top here, and you can see that the AN line comes up here to another 90-degree quick connect fitting and goes to the fuel rail. So I chose to do this, so you can choose different variations and different fittings. For me, I really wanted to do more of the quick connect route. So here you see that 90-degree quick connect fitting. And then on the fuel rail side, I ordered a 8 orb to barb fitting so that I could connect to the fuel rail. So that did not come with the fuel rail. I had to order that separately. So that was able to connect to the fuel rail. And then we go down here and yet another quick connect fitting. So again, same thing that I did over here. Both quick connects, barb fittings, 8 orb to barb, and then the 90-degree quick connect. But this one is a little funky. It was kind of hard to run the return fuel line system from this side just because of the kind of a tight area back here. But you can see that I was able to route that behind the manifold. Now we go all the way down here to the external fuel pressure regulator, and this is the 1-to-1 boost reference. And again, now this, as you can see, it's kind of hard to show you guys, and sorry about that. I'll try my best to explain it, but we're looking at the left side of the external fuel pressure regulator at the moment. So looking at it from the left side perspective, you can see that there is quite a few connections here. So on the right side, that is kind of hard to see, and I'm sorry, but the AN line that we had up here connects to the right side of the external fuel pressure regulator. And that is just a regular 90-degree AN connection. So that one screws on to the external fuel pressure regulator. And then now, as you can see here better on the bottom, I can actually show you this one a little bit. That's another 90-degree connection. And now that connects to the bottom of the external fuel pressure regulator. And we have another AN6 line that'll go back to the billet top hat, which I'll show you guys. But from up here, you can see that I just routed it down there. And it goes on its way back to the billet top hat. We'll go underneath the car again, and I'll show you guys how I ran it on the Z4. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I started to get really lazy on the return fuel line because I've been really anxious to get this car running properly, but it's not the end of the world. You guys will see. Just to talk a little bit more about this now, on the front side of the external pressure regulator, remember we're looking at the left side, so right now you see this AEM low pressure fuel pump sensor over here. So that isn't a universal sensor from AEM. So we custom used that and connected that to the front of the external fuel pressure regulator. And then aside from that, I connected a boost reference vacuum line to the external fuel pressure regulator. Here you can see on, again, the left side here of the fuel pressure, external fuel pressure regulator that is connected, and this connects to the manifold. So just to speak on the manifold a little bit, it is a Phoenix Racing manifold, and that has 4 ports on it that you can use for vacuum. So far I have the low side catch can running off of that, as well as the blow off valve. You can see I have a much thicker line here, vacuum line going to the manifold. And then I have my max solenoid boost pressure reference going all the way from the back of the engine to the manifold, and then finally to the external fuel pump regulator. Now, to get to the more tricky part, as many of you Z4 owners know, the Z4 does not come with a low pressure fuel pump sensor. So with the AEM universal sensor, I ran 3 wires, and I ran those wires to the DME. And now I'll show you guys how I pin those wires to the DME. But all it is just a regular connection to the AEM sensor. It uses 3 wires, and then you kind of have to convert those wires to work with the vacant slots of what other models had for the low pressure fuel pump sensor. So there's a website where you can buy OEM DME leads for a BMW, which is what I did. So I stripped the wiring again, just like the connector, and then crimped it. So you can see that that's why it looks like this now. It looks like an OEM lead now. So again, I have blue, yellow, and black. I'll link all that in the description of where you can buy OEM leads to make this job easier. But yeah, so now I have my own harness. These are gonna go and plug into the DME where the OEM low pressure fuel pump sensor was supposed to go in the Z4. It just wasn't done. So those spots are still open in the DME. For now, I'm gonna pin these wires into the DME. And another note to explain is how you can convert the AEM sensor to kind of use the OEM wiring, so to say, to work with the DME. An important thing to note is I'll put up here in the right hand corner of the video what the AEM kind of pinout is for the sensor. So in that pinout, black is the signal ground, and then blue here on the top right is the sensor power, and then yellow is the signal input. So we'll kind of convert that into how the OEM pinout is supposed to be on the DME. So I'll show you guys which color goes into which section of the DME and what harness we're going to be plugging into in a second. I'm going to disconnect the harness and get everything ready, and then I'll explain it more. All right, guys, so I took off the plug from this first harness here, the bigger one, and then I unclipped this one from the harness. So the white one automatically came out, so it's just hanging out here because I think I must have clipped something before long ago when I was repinning stuff, so this one just automatically slides out now, unfortunately. But on this one, as you can see here, I plugged in the yellow one into pin 34. And remember, these have numbers, so they're numbered and you can count down to 34. That's where I put that lead in. And then on the other side, I have black in pin 7 and then blue in pin 8. So those are pinned to this connector now, and I can slide it back into the harness along with the white one, and we're all done for pinning the AEM sensor into the OEM DME and kind of retrofitting it. Let's go underneath the car now. Back underneath the car now, you can see where I started to get a little sloppy with the return fuel line because I was just irritated on that whole process, especially with the Z4, trying to find a way to route that. Now, what I ended up doing was routing it on the side of the transmission here behind this heat protectant. So I ran it behind there. And then we keep going back here. It's still behind that cloth here. And then still going and going and going. And then finally, it comes out of here. And then again, we loop it behind the drive shaft to go over to the billet top hat over here. So it kind of follows the path of the fuel delivery line. So now we are on the right side of the billet top hat connection, where it is another 90-degree quick connect fitting to the barb fitting on the billet top hat. Now, an important note is that the billet top hat does not come with that fitting. So if you're looking to do this kind of setup, it will only be the fuel delivery line on the left side. So you will have to modify the billet top hat and add in that barb connector and do a couple things to modify that billet top hat to do this kind of setup. I'll include a video of how I did that here quick. This is how you run a return line on the Z4 E89 billet top hat. So the smaller barb is the return line, and that's blocked off. The bigger barb is the feed line. So with the top hat, you'll only get one of these barbs and the other two will be blocked off. This is the feed. So now adding this fitting, so another barb, which was previously blocked off like this one, now we can run the return line straight to this barb, and this is blocked off. So the return line would go here, but now it's gonna go here. So this is ready to go in and just get plugged in, and then ready to run both feed and return off the top of the top hat. All right, so now that you guys saw that, I made sure to take a quick video on that before and put everything back into the gas tank and put on the lock ring here. But now you guys can see how that fuel delivery and return line system works, specifically on the Z4. Ideally now the car should run properly, but as for me, I'm having issues with the EKP, with voltage issues from the fuel pump. So once I get that, I should be idling at a low pressure fuel pump sensor rate of 45 PSI, around there. As of right now, I'm in the mid 20s. It starts off at mid 40s, but then it drops off due to that voltage issue. Well guys, that does it for the aftermarket fueling setup on my Z4 with the N54 engine, so you can see how overhauled the fuel system is on this car. Also including the Nexsys port injection conversion, so you guys got to see that. I know this video is Z4 specific, but I really think that some of the things that I did can also be used on other models, so you can get an idea of other options to go with your fueling setup on, say, a 135i, 335i, or one of those other cars with the N54 engine, including the low pressure fuel pump sensor, because even if the 135i and the 335i have that low pressure fuel pump sensor in the hard line that goes into the high pressure fuel pump, with the Nexsys port injection conversion kit, you're going to be losing that. So having that option of having the AEM low pressure fuel pump sensor helps that out, so that you can still measure that accurately within MHD with the 335i or 135i. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below, and I'll do my best to update you guys on how this process is going, or on any issues that you guys are having that I may have encountered with this car. I'll make sure to answer those questions. Just comment down below or message me on Instagram. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.